Hello everybody, this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and I have more of a card share than a tutorial for you today, and a quick tip that I'll show you towards the end of the video. So first let me tell you what I'm using. Now, from close to my heart, I pulled the Zoe collection. I really like this kind of diamond print on here. This is one of the B&T Duo papers, but the diamond print was the one that I really wanted. And then I also wanted this solid color that also came in the paper pack. So these were the main colors that I'm using. I used some Sorbet exclusive ink. I used some black exclusive ink. I used some coral shimmer trim, and this is so gorgeous and matches perfectly with the Zoe collection. I used my watercolors. Now, you may know, you may not know, this is only half of the set of watercolors. It's actually a 2-box set. I've set the other box aside because the colors that I need are in this particular box. But the set actually comes with 24 pencils, even though you're only seeing 12 there. I use the March 2016 stamp of the month, which is called Sunshine Birdies. Isn't that cute? It says, "You are my sunshine, you make me happy." And then the images on it, there are 3 different types of birds. There's a little tree so that you can perch your birds. There are 3 different butterflies, and there are some music notes and a sun. So I used quite a few of the images on this, and then I used white daisy card base and envelope. So let me show you the card, and it is almost done, and then we'll move to our quick tip. So this is the card that I made. Now, this is a pretty heavy card because I've used quite a few layers. I took my white base and I cut my I think it's Sorbet cardstock to the same dimension as the card base. So it's a full 4 1/4 inches tall by 5 1/2 inches wide. And then I cut down a piece of the B&T paper so that it would just barely have a 1/16 of an inch around it. So that meant this was 4 1/8 inches tall and 5 3/8 inches wide, and I taped that down. And then I took a piece of white cardstock that I didn't actually even measure, of white daisy, because I eyeballed it to kind of do my scene. And so what you see here is in the black, I stamped my little branch, and I stamped my bird, and I stamped my "You Are My Sunshine" in Sorbet, and then I stamped my sun also in the black. And then I decided I wanted to just color with my watercolor pencils, but I was just going to use them as just plain old colored pencils and not add water to them. However, when I started doing that, I realized I don't really like the way that's looking, so I decided to make it a little bit bolder, to grab some water. Now, I have to tell you, it's been one of those days and I just didn't feel like going and finding water, and I looked over at on my desk, and I have my homemade Perfect Pearl solution. So I thought I know what I'll do. Now, I didn't even have a mat sitting on my desk because it had been packed away from a gathering that I had done. So what I did is I took just an acrylic block. If you have this mat like I do now, you could do the same thing directly on the mat, but like I said, my mat was put away. So I took an acrylic block, I shook up my homemade Perfect Pearls, and I spritzed a little bit of water onto my homemade Perfect Pearls, onto my block. And then what I did is I used this water to dip my pencils in to color my image. And so I don't know that the camera picks it up very well, but when I look at the image, if I turn it in the right reflection, there's a little bit of shimmer everywhere where I painted. So that is the outside of the card. Now, the inside of the card, I then took a piece of the Sorbet cardstock, and I cut it at, this time I cut it at 4 1/4 by 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then I took this piece of white daisy and cut it at 3 3/4 by 5. And then I stamped "You Make Me Happy" again with the sorbet ink. I stamped the butterfly with the tail as low as I dare go, and so that there's still plenty of room on here to write a little note. And then I put the shimmer trim on the bottom. So now all I have to do to finish up the card is to color my butterfly. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. Now, I think I'm going to, even though the bird on the front is blue, I think I'm also going to make the butterfly a blue. And as I'm looking at it, I think I do need a black pencil. So let's open up my watercolors and find a black. Rather than open them all the way, I'll just open them part way. Here's my black, so I'm going to need that. And we're going to start with the black. And again, you see what I'm doing? I'm just dipping it right in my shimmer water. And I'm going to come and I'm going to do the body of my butterfly just like that. And again, it's going to shimmer. Now, I didn't even use watercolor paper. I just used plain old white daisy cardstock, because remember what I said is I initially planned to just use my watercolors just as regular colored pencils rather than digging out my colored pencils. And so I had prepped and already done all my stamping with my Black Exclusives ink on regular white daisy. Now I will warn you, if you're going to do a large amount of watercoloring, you probably don't want to use the Black Exclusives ink. We have an archival black ink that's a little bit more permanent, that stays a little bit better for watercolors. But for the smaller images that I was doing, it did just fine. And the white daisy cardstock did fine as well. I didn't have any difficulty with the white daisy cardstock warping or anything, because like I said, I just did a light amount of water, and I'm not going back and adding water with a brush or anything, so it did just fine. But that's just a tip for the future. If you were doing more watercoloring, you would want to use a different ink and a different a watercolor paper. Sorry about that. It's late. I'm getting tired. So we're done. Super cute card. Now I'm going to just set this aside and let that dry, which it literally will probably take just 5 minutes or less to dry because I use so little water on there. But now, remember at the beginning I told you it was a card share, a quick tip. So we've got the share, we've got the quick tip. Now I'm going to show you the surprise. So to finish off this card, to make my envelope a little bit special, what I did is, ta-da, there's a hidden secret. I put a piece of the coordinating paper on the inside of my flap, and I have to tell you exactly, this was so easy. There are different ways you can do this, but how I did this one is I took a piece of scrap paper, and it actually was about this wide, was it. I turned my envelope upside down on the piece of scrap paper, and I just drew this out and I cut it. And then I put tape on the back, I slid it in, and it's just long enough to come down into here so that it looks like maybe the whole thing's lined, but it's really not. Of course, from the front you can tell it's not because you can see the other side of that duo paper. And then I took my heavy-duty bone folder like this and my score tool and set it up so that the crease, the natural crease of the envelope, was on the line of my scoring, and then I just scored it. And then I used my bone folder and went over and over the crease, and I was done. And it's just taped in there with regular ATG. So we have a cute card and a matching envelope. Now you might say, well, but you can't seal the envelope. That's true, you really can't seal, because I covered up the sealing strip. For me, that's not a problem. I have two different options. One, if I was going to mail it, which I don't plan to do with this card, but if I was going to, I could take a line of ATG or two and tape it down from the inside, and then I would probably go over the back with a piece of washi tape. I may do that actually even though I don't mail it, but that'll just make it kind of fun and interesting too. So there we have our quick card, and it's super cute and ready for its recipient. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.